InShalla and Ashe. Blessings to you. Thanks for tuning in. I know I'm a little slow today, but once again, Tonya D here, holistic Sha'Medium and subtle energy surgeon. Um, Welcome to September 15th, 2021. So yesterday I was going to use my fairy oracle deck, and curiously enough, I pulled this card, the Journeyman. So I put it back and I shuffled the cards some more and I pulled another card. And once again, it was the Journeyman. So last night I was kind of up in the air, the etheric, a little bit in the dream space, dream wandering again and the Journeyman. So I really felt called to share the Journeyman, obviously. So it's important that I actually pulled this card twice yesterday, but it's also been a card in the last 30 days that I've also pulled, both reversed and also upright. But the Journeyman, it's one of the great ones, the saints, the Bodhisattvas, and all or any of those that have actually walked the earth in this spiritual light. They've all been on this nomadic kind of journey in a way, or just a journey out into the wilderness, stepping off the beaten path in foolish kind of ways where a safer route, might have been in the hands of their gods or goddesses, actually, right? So the journey of life really, it's like a pilgrimage that begins at this, it's kind of this ignorant kind of trust and passing through doubts and fears and the ups and the downs and all of the delusions as well, probably the confusion too. So through it, that's actually how we learn, slowly, sometimes painfully, also a new kind of trust, a trust in the process where we kind of detach from the goal, the quest. Our little journeyman here, we should actually bless him because he's stepped out into the journey of life, or onto the platform of the journey of life in his beingness, and he's just glowing with positivity and enthusiasm. He's sparkling, he's illuminating. As he walks, he's bright, he's handsome, he's educated. But even through all that, he hasn't really achieved true mastery of his trade as of yet. But he has completed his apprenticeship in the realm of the fairies and the crafts and the magic that exists there, and how to accomplish this mastery, this heartfelt mastery, like it resonates, it's a beacon in his heart space. He leaves the protection of his master and he steps out on his own path. He's independent. He's this craftsman. He's this journeyman. So he's testing himself along with the knowledge that he has in the world and hoping to really eventually achieve the status of a master maker. So right now he really just has the basics. He knows the facts, I guess, but probably knows less than he really thinks he does, because he's about to learn the skills of survival and bartering and persuading and selling and buying wisely, making friends, hopefully enjoying life. And his name is Ongus, Oengus, by the way. He still has his playful kind of childlike qualities. He's kind of playing balance the ball with the stick with the moon. He seems to have no constraints. He's set no boundaries whatsoever on what he can do. And also, because he is magical, he really doesn't set any limitations on himself. He's really still able to kind of walk on air, walk on water, through the hills, all with the moon nicely balanced, both on his stick and also out into the sky. So this young little fairy must learn to really care for himself, because no one's looking over his shoulder to see he does anything right, or if he's eating right and taking care of himself, taking chances and possibly, making mistakes sometimes here and there, as everyone does, right? Life would be boring if we didn't make a mistake. That's really how we learn. But he's now confronting or being confronted by the real world. So that's where he discovers excuses really don't buy the bread. and the quality and integrity of what we do within our work and our actions are really authentically what counts. He's been well taught, he's trained, he pretty much knows this already in his beingness, but sometimes he'll put on a false mustache, changing character, hoping that that actually makes him look more mature. He has his own romantic dreams of being a great hero, of becoming a master in his craft, and also winning a princess fairy. So some of these dreams will come true, perhaps even every one of them. So here we see this innocent being walking trustfully out into all situations, which he's not really fully prepared for. And, he cannot be fully prepared for, that's part of the preparation for him to be in this untested reality, or to be untested by reality itself. So he is innocent of pretty much everything in the practical experience of the path that he's treading upon, or the realm of life into which he's kind of moving forward in. This card really could also be called the Innocence Encounters Reality. That's kind of the movie, right? Which is by no means a bad thing, because we all know, that his fairy godmother is actually lurking somewhere. She's just kind of out of sight, and that's what they often do. Her expression is both kind of, gleeful. I'm kind of seeing an Maleficent, the little fairy godmothers, they're gleeful and they're still worried, all in the same frequency. Their hair is already whiter than it was before he actually began this journey. She's got her wand fully charged all the time. So even though this is his journey and he must kind of undertake it on his own, almost everyone needs and is actually given a little fairy godmothering from time to time. We all need that, right? So it's this good-natured innocence that attracts fairy guardians. It attracts helpful beings on the other planes and in all of those worlds. So it might also attract those who would abuse the innocence, but as long as our intentions are good and gooder, our guardians often, they offer higher guidance and blessings, right? So we're blessed and we're cared for if we really allow ourselves to be. So the world before this little character, Angus, with smiles and his teeth, he's just happy. He's full of optimism and cheerfulness, and he's got all his magical skills, and he even has his fairy godmother, So he grows within us when we step bravely out into the unknown, developing our potentials. We have our hope, our optimism, and more importantly, we have an open heart. We have adventure, we have travel, we have independence, and a long path ahead, we also have hope. So this is speaking to those or to the need of perfecting our skills in both working and living in the balance, but it's also acknowledging having sound grounding in just the basics, whatever that is. Optimistic innocence, and just willing to learn, look through different eyes. So this little character, the Journeyman, Angus, he shows us that intuition absolutely 100% serves us well, but only if we actually pay attention to it. Hence why I went back to this card. So sometimes we are operating from theory alone, and our knowledge might be, or it might not be, well grounded in reality, which is curious because that's the season we're in. We're at the end of the season of reality, which is Virgo. So it doesn't necessarily refer to beginnings exclusively. It can also be a signal or an alert of that we're moving forward, we're progressing along our path, our journey, moving into the unknown from the known, a new phase in an ongoing process. It might also kind of represent like untested concepts or ideas, and suggest a need for kind of balance between both the intuitive and the rational. So as one who is approaching this unknown and consider where you are going, what are your long-term goals? What are you doing that's helping you move forward or towards all those goals? Because we are kind of in a spin. The energy of the day, It's one of transforming life with a blend of knowledge. So it's funny that he just kept beaconing me. Like, I can't believe I pulled him twice, but I was like, oh, I already pulled the Journeyman. So I went with another deck altogether, I believe. But he showed up in my dream space. So we've had a full year of cleansing, reconciling, clearing the karmic journey. And the journey ahead is one that really ultimately we've never seen it before. So really open our hearts, channel, meditate, and dream of the life that you wish to come, the one that you wish to be in. Really close your eyes and feel if what you are imaging or visioning is possible, and just sense if the universe is actually on your side, and believe in what you are doing. That is what you're ultimately shifting and becoming, or what comes to be. So our old narrative is officially, it's off the docket. It's dead. It's dried up. And the energy of today, so it's also fun, right? I got all these fun little tickets here. There we go. So the elemental energy, we have this Bing Yin day, or a Yang fire tiger. So our day, when you look at it, it has support. Fire or wood supports the fire. The tiger, if I was looking at the rabbit as well, so that would support the fire. There's really not, it's healthy wood. It's like it's at its peak degree. So it has support. It has resources. But there's one disruption there with that yin fire next to the yang fire. That's like having friends with no ethics. They might gossip about you behind your back, or a sibling that you're kind of in a rival with. And we only have like a little bit of water. It's hidden in the year branch. It's kind of far away. So for sure, call in the water. It feeds the supporter, which is wood. Just some nice light rain today, please. Something cleansing. A smiling creek, or even a wandering, meandering one would be great. And reconcile family situations or work situations. Be the solution, or at least find balance ground between the two. Water, even the galaxy, the water in the sky, otherworldly water. Pray, set an intention, plant the seed, allow the passion of the fire, the optimism to set it to glow, the warmth of the sun. Assist in the birth of the new. And yes, the soil, it's actually hard and rough. It's surrounded by metal. So I would say it's kind of pebbly, refined rocks that have been around for centuries, pebbly in the soil. So the fire can actually produce more soil and actually remold or reshape the metal, but water is definitely needed. Water, like, be in your meditation station. So it's really time for a higher vision, to be in collaboration with your imagination for life, placing your thoughts and your logic, the narrative there, and thinking, into our awareness field, kind of balancing between the two. Stay in your emotional channel, because it really is, it's easy to disconnect from our feelings and our emotions, or our heart, even our body, when our mind is online. So the mind is great at ignoring the voices, the recalibration centers in our beingness, in our body, in our head, in the outer world. So it's kind of a day to deliberately be mindful and tune into the other voices, intuition included, whatever that looks like for you. We all have intuitive gifts. Invest in your body. I need to exercise. I focus on taking a breath and a pause to really be centered in my skin. I'm actually going to be on Walk the Talk again. I'm going to talk about boundaries, different kinds of boundaries, and kind of how I work through them. So that'll be next week. It's with Tavia again. So our mind, just through exercise, you can actually utilize exercise or breath work to calm the narrative of thoughts. You can do yoga, chanting, you can do all the things. It really kind of unites the fields, our energy fields of our energetic body, our mind, our spirit, and even our soul. I always like to bring the soul in. I think it needs some nourishment too. So if our mind goes off on a tangent, the only energy that can kind of soothe the mind and kind of override those things that go in the mind is to bring it back into a state of peace. That's kind of exercise and movement, recalibration. You think of the weight, not the mind kind of talking to it, like taking the pause in the waiting, in the narrative, in the story, or pull up for that matter, any form of exercise, swimming, riding a bike, all of it, what soothes your mind. I'm just giving you some examples. So your mind, being like the operator that it is, it really wants to understand the narrative of the future, the being in the be. So you might have been kind of thrown a curveball, or options out of left field appeared lately. I know that happens for me, kind of like the Journeyman. He totally resonated with the energy of yesterday and actually the energy of today. So this is a day to really take our mind into the village. So where is your mind pointing you? What are you learning? Like, what do you want to explore as well? So it's a day to feel and also to bring the mind into the conversation. Our feelings are kind of engaged, a source of authentic truth. So feel into where your life is coming from and where your life is going to. Again, that's Matthew McConaughey, the 10 years ahead. That's the goal, right? So just feeling into the streams, the river, if you will, and sense where, if anything is off balance, resistance or conflicts, and just use your mind to travel those threads where your feelings lead you, and be in touch with what you believe about life, and also what unlimited and endless beliefs are really possible. So the quarter of life really doesn't flow in a direction that you don't wholeheartedly, in your heart space, believe in without any doubts in your narrative, in your story, or worries, right? So it's a magical day to have those three voices, the mind, the feelers, and the believers, voicing and uniting to come up with a new narrative on the future chapter of your life, and flow the river streams of your feelings to find those answers. Just flow with the feelings, a bigger picture, a grander vision of life, your home, your family. For me, it's my emotional security, those thread lines. So whatever threads, it has to be like a solution that you wholeheartedly, completely, authentically believe in and trust. So flow into those feelings in the river, in those threads. And your feelings will always show you the way, and utilize those feelings on a day like today. It's not about the facts. It's not about the details, the tiny little organization skills, the logic. It's the picture that you are, and painting. And the painting, painting about a grander future, in the imagery, the vision, with your beliefs and your feelings that your mind is actually online with. Like, they're all in the same corridor, they're at the same frequency, and understanding what your needs are first is actually necessary for the future and the fine tuning of the picture, the imagery. So our solar plexus is actually online today. So the sun, the yang energy in the sky, the fires, the warm, our yang fire day master, yellow like a sunflower, bright and sunny. The seed sound of Ram. It's the ah in Father. That's the ah in the Ram. I have all this in the show notes, by the way, as well, if you've ever checked those out. And also, while I'm musing about it, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gratitude to my heart space for subscribing and liking and tuning in on YouTube or wherever you're seeing me. It truly assisted in my algorithm. So blessings to you. I'm so grateful. It's like a bliss state. So I appreciate that so much. Okay, and so also, so funny, since I started with the Journeyman, I also pulled 2 more cards this morning to go with the Journeyman. So, fairies truly are, for me at least, they're very magical. I'll tell you that. So I have pulled the Death card, and I also pulled, it's called the Pook. But the Death card, scary. Before you panic, let's just remember that if it were not for Death and her hard work, we would all be up to our ears in the things, the alligators, the flies, the gnats, or even at each other and just about everything else. Really, without her to clear the world, there would be no room for growth or new life. So this actually applies to all the realms, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and all the other realms as well, the ancestors, the keepers of the wild, and so much more. So in all oracles, if you think about it, the death card, whether it's the fairy, the tarot, or any other oracle, it doesn't actually signify actual physical death. That is really rarely, oftentimes, the meaning at all. It's an indication of change. One involves, letting go of the old life in order to move forward with the blessings of the new. So what we really fear about death is the unknown, the what's next of it all. So we might be experiencing like great pain. That's our root center. Pain is felt in our root center. It can resonate through our body in different aspects, but it's the root. Emotion, is felt through our solar plexus, but again, it can grid out as well. But as a result of holding on to aspects of our life that we've actually outgrown, humans tend to hold on anyway because we don't know what's next. So we want guarantees, and instead we often open doors into unknown, darkened spaces. And yet, oftentimes we go through those doors and closing them behind us, and then we discover a whole new world, one in which we can grow, develop more of our potentials, more of our beingness, more of our be. So here we see death. Her face is hidden, without form, holding a dark crystal ball. And she herself, she cannot see herself in the future. She cannot see it. Behind that, being that it was reversed when I pulled it, there's this important change that's actually being blocked or delayed. So by clinging to those old habits, those old things, and, therefore the changes that actually need to happen appear to be difficult and kind of forced upon us. However, in the releasing these outgrown, outworn ways of being, they actually have to happen in order to move us through to the next stage of developing our beingness, our essence. So meditating upon breathing in our truth, our spiritual truths, breathing our not truths or untruths kind of might be helpful. So a not truth might be false information, or it might be simple confusion or kind of muddle and foggy. So we really don't have to know what it is or look at it, really. We just need to exhale the energy of the narrative, the not truth. So it's important to look out into the future, however unknown or frightening that might feel, rather than trying to tug the past along with us. It's like baggage. It might seem impossibly difficult, but the only way to reduce the pain of this process is really to step forward into the future willingly, and leave the false evidence affecting your reality, the fear behind, and move forward. So I love that I pulled the death card, but I also pulled this. There we are, the little Pookie. So the Pook it's a shapeshifter, actually. So he appears in whatever guise he thinks will be most confusing to us, depending on his purpose. So he weaves spells to kind of bemuse our senses, confuse our judgment. He's a master of the arts of illusion and also delusion. So holding up this distorting mirror to kind of revel in the bad and the good and the good and the bad. It's kind of this wishy-washy, teeter-totter kind of thing. So he wants to show us the bad and what we think to be good and vice versa. So this might confuse us even further, or it might assist us to gain a more balanced understanding of how things actually really are. So he is very against a rigid mindset. And also, in his own way, he encourages the development of having the inquiring mind, the mind that wants to know. So his true face, it's not sure that a shape changer even has a true face. However, he's often proud of the face that he assumes with people and humans and other things. He's a shapeshifter. So he offers us contradictions and also paradoxes. And he finds it way easy to confuse our judgment because we are often not thinking clearly anyway. So sometimes we even hold two or more kind of contradictory beliefs in little boxes in our minds. So if one is true, we think when we finally kind of consider them, put them both on the platter, then the other one must be false. So you kind of want to consider them not so. Perhaps both are false. Perhaps both are partly true and partly false. So we tend to kind of cling desperately, like Klingons, to our beliefs, our narrative, our story, even when they make no sense to others, or even, they're counter to an actual experience that we might be having. So our paradoxes and confusions are kind of self-created. So this little Pookie, he need only dress them up a little bit, add a little sparkle, dangle before them, dangle them before our eyes. And to do that, in order to do that, he actually induces more confusion. That's what he does. So it's in that confusion that we are likely to believe almost anything somebody presents to us or before us, just to feel as if we have a kind of a metaphorical anchor in reality. So his challenge for us is to wake up, to stop projecting our confusion on reality. And once we have seen the truth, seemingly those contradictions or the different paradoxes, they fizzle, they melt away. It's kind of in the manner of realizing the solution to like a Zen, like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? So when we get the answer, usually by a burst of insight, just cutting through the confusion and those paradoxes, it always seems kind of simple. And we sit and we wonder how we could have been, in such a tizzy and with such a simple kind of thing. Kind of buckets us up in a way. So we wonder why everyone doesn't understand this. And it's kind of this very obvious thing. So I actually also pulled this card reversed. So there's this paradox that we are unable to resolve at this time. And recognizing the paradox will assist us to move us closer to the solution actually for it. But the information or the experience we need to really resolve it, it's not available to us yet. So the trick here is to really avoid becoming bogged down by all of this. I feel like it's our outer world. So we need to get on with other aspects of our life while also acknowledging the difficulty in the space here. So if possible, we need to postpone related decisions and take a pause, take a breath, relax about it, and knowing that the insight we need is actually going to come, but we can't rush it. So in fact, really trying to rush it usually only causes us to become more deeply kind of mired, entangled in the confusion. So you really want to relax, wait, stay alert. And fairies trip us up. They trip us up to give us a new perspective out into the world. That's kind of their magic, their muse. So for fun, I actually pulled, sorry you don't get to see me for this, but I pulled the Dragonfly. There we go. Oh my goodness sakes. I don't want that there right there. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, I pulled the Dragonfly totems. And so the Dragonfly, the saying for the Dragonfly, it's like, you are responsible for what you see in your life. So take note, because not all of it is real. That's what the Dragonfly says. So with that, who hasn't seen some magical dragonflies during the end of the season or, all season long? I have them all around me. So when the Dragonfly, the symbolism flips into our world, she's asking us to pay attention to our deeper desires. So with that in mind, we should also be mindful of the outcome that we wish to actually have on the other side. So in other words, there are lessons actually to be learned. And what you think is directly proportional to what you see on the surface. So as a result, the spirit animal really shows us that our thoughts are responsible for our physical surroundings. So the Dragonfly meaning really tells us that we must move through these illusions and think your dreams into reality. And also this Dragonfly, the symbolism, it might also be letting us know that we should live our life to the fullest with what we actually have. So it's important to realize that you should seek the habits that really need the changing, the shifting, the transformation. Only then can we manifest an abundant life, whatever abundance looks like for you. So with that in mind, really kind of utilize this totem to guide you through the illusion and towards the pathway of that transformation in your world. So the dragonfly also, the symbolism kind of brings the light into the color of change into our life. For me, it's like seeing a rainbow. And also, it might also be letting us know that it's time for us to kind of make the decision that you have been putting off and move on it, like move forward, where opportunities are only available for like a limited period, that door. And the one you've been nervous about jumping into, is quickly closing those doors. And occasionally when one of these insects kind of lands on you, if you've ever had that happen, it's an element of things to come. So if that's the case, the dragonfly meaning, it tells the story, the future, that you're going to have some extreme good luck. It's like the wishing well. And if you have a dragonfly as a totem of your spirit animals, it really represents the power of light. So this totem can inhabit, two realms, both of the air and the water. So to kind of clarify that, the influence of both of these elements will be felt by you regularly. The essence of the air and the essence of the water. So this totem is the essence of the winds of change as well. So you might find your life filled with many upheavals, both positive or negative. Even like the owl, you're also a messenger of wisdom that actually brings the enlightenment to others and those around you. A person with the dragonfly also receives communication from the elemental realm and the elemental world. So people with this spirit animal have an abundance of great luck, and they're always in the right place at the right time with that luck. So even like the cow, people with this totem have mastered mysticism and actually magic. They're very great at what they do, and they do it repeatedly with integrity. So people with this insect as a spirit animal really utilize their light to create illusion and transform consciousness. So they're always ready to handle the future. And by doing so, they continually seek the knowledge and also the wisdom. So when you have a dragonfly in your dream state or a dream, that usually symbolizes change and regeneration. You've learned to balance your emotional body with your mental body. And it might also indicate that something in your life might not appear as it seems, the illusion, or maybe it is an illusion. Also in a dream, it can represent instability, flightiness, or activity. You're always on the goal, you're on the thread lines. So to dream, this is kind of interesting, to dream that you are eating this little creature might suggest that a passion is consuming you, even at the risk of offending or hurting other people's feelings. So also, it can signify that you hold some false beliefs or perceptions. So the activities that you're currently engaged in are ill-considered and present you as unreliable or maybe irresponsible. So at this moment, things are not what they seem, and your downfall is kind of imminent if you were to have a dragonfly in your dream. Somewhat curious, like the wasp, it's like taking a closer look at things and looking beyond what you perceive and clear out those emotional distortions, those energetics. An iridescent rainbow colored insect of this type, I always see a rainbow of dragonflies, blue, lots of blue ones actually around me now that I say that out loud. Blue ones, I've seen this particular color that I have on the screen. So they just have this inner light that emerges from them. Even kind of like the seal, they're able to express their creative imagination and their insight. So really now is a time of healing and transformation for all of us, I believe, and also more, it signifies a new elevation within our consciousness as well. So it's just super cool to actually, that I grabbed the dragonfly. So an affirmation to get you on your way to enjoy your magical day. So I wanted to bring in the energy of the Journeyman. So that would be something like, I am honoring my inward journey and creating a positive outcome. So you want to kind of stay in the positive loop, the looping of the positive, and don't be afraid of the journey outward as you take the journey inward. It's kind of the opposing duality of the flow. Another one would be, I am merging my ingredients of thought, belief, and feelings, creating those unlimited and endless possibilities. So be sure to bring in all those little cards of the day and the dragonfly and make it a magical day. InShalla and Ashe.